Hey guys, I know you just watched the video of the guy with crazy hair. It wasn't me. It's not even my brother. It's just crazy hair like me. You watched his video on free body diagrams, and hopefully you fill out your notes. All right, free body diagrams are not difficult. They just show you all of the forces that are happening on an object, okay? They simplify it. They don't show you 10 million things. They just zoom in and talk about only the parts that you need to see. So when you guys start checkpoint 2 here in a few minutes, you want to make sure that you don't complicate it. Simple pictures, okay? Simple pictures. All right, so you have a page in your notes that talks about examples with Mrs. Cummins, so I want to kind of work through these with you. And the first one is about a gymnast. Okay, now, what I normally do is I usually draw a more complicated picture, and then I go back and fix it a little bit. So check this out. All right. It says a gymnast is on a bar, suspended motionless in the air. Okay, so like the bar, here's your bar. Okay, and your gymnast is holding on to it. They got really long arms. Don't judge them. Is that better? Maybe a little bit better. Okay, this is what's happening in my picture. Now, I need to label all of the forces that are acting on this guy. All right, now, because it happens on Earth, there's one force that is always, always, always super easy, and that's the force of gravity. Gravity always pulls us towards the center of the Earth. So we have this force pulling down, and this is gravity. Okay, now, in the video, he uses F with a little G beside it. You can do that if you want, or you can just tell me that it's gravity, the force of gravity. Keep it simple. Okay, all right. Now, if gravity was the only force happening, this dude would be hitting the floor. But that's not the case. He's suspended in the middle of the air. So we've got more forces that are working. Now, if you guys were paying attention, when you did this paper, the resources type of forces, it talks about all the different forces that we can be using in this. Okay, it's on the second page, and it says that there's a type of force. Check it out. It says, is transmitted through a string, rope, cable, or wire, and is pulled tight by force is acting on it. Okay, so this rope is pulled tight because this guy is hanging on it. Okay, this is called a tension force. Now, we won't use this a ton, actually, but it's one that we can use. Okay, so you've got this force pushing down, but I need to have a force pushing up called this tension force because of the rope. Now, I've got two ropes, so both of them are going to be pushing up with tension. Okay. All right. If you wanted to put F with a little with F of T, that works too. Okay, but you know how this gets a little crazy? Scientists like to keep things super simple, and so they're going to turn this into a box. All right, let me move over a little bit. You got your box here. Let me change colors here. We have the force of gravity pulling down on the box. And then we have two forces to show that we have two strings. All right, and this is the tension force pushing back up. Okay, it's pretty simple. Now, if I wanted to make this better, I could say that gravity pushing down, let's say that it was 10 newtons. So my tension force would have to be 5 and 5. Okay, to balance it out, because he's not moving. He's not going up. He's not coming down. He's motionless on the ground. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. All right, this one is super easy. You probably could do this one without me even teaching you. It says an egg is free falling from a nest in a tree. Now, it says this thing where it says neglect air resistance. That just means don't pay attention to it. Neglect, it means to not even care about it. So I'm not going to talk about air resistance because air resistance is teeny tiny. Doesn't really play a role in anything because it's so tiny. So the egg is falling out of the tree. What makes it fall out of the tree? What force is always pulling things towards the ground? The force of gravity. That's all that one is. Okay, gravity is pulling it towards the ground. Now, in a free body diagram, they may make this a box and push it down like this the same way. It's the same thing. All right, remember, you can use F of G, force of gravity, but that's up to you. If you want to write out the whole word, if you want to know these, That is completely up to you. All right, then we have one more. I think one more. All right, a flying squirrel. I think a flying squirrel would be awesome. Now it says the flying squirrel, no flapping wings, is gliding from a tree to the ground at a constant velocity. It's going the same speed, kind of gliding its way down. Consider air resistance. So this time we want to talk about air resistance. We want to talk about that. So draw a free body diagram for the squirrel. I can't draw a squirrel to save my life. Shocker, I know. So I'm literally just going to make it a box. Okay. Now, the squirrel is gliding down towards the earth. What pulls everything towards the earth? Gravity. Okay. Now, this time it talks about to put air resistance in there. Now, technically, because we know like parachutes and stuff, okay, there's a teeny tiny force that pushes back up on us, that slows us down. So that's why these flying squirrel things, they've got this like skin flap right here, that the air gets caught in that and it slows them down a lot. Okay, so this, but it's still falling towards the ground, so we know this one is smaller. So this right here is air resistance. Okay, now the squirrel is still falling towards the ground, but it's falling slower than it was before. This is how parachutes work. Gravity still pulls people to the ground, but air resistance slows them down a little bit. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. You guys are going to jump into your project here in a minute, and I just want to kind of go over a few things with that too. So give me a second, let me get to it. Nope, up to the top. All right, so when you get in checkpoint 2, it's going to give you lots of directions, okay? It says, in this checkpoint, you're going to create a free body diagram, a force diagram to show the forces in a moment of action in your game, okay? It says you will apply your understanding of forces and force diagrams by describing the forces in an image of gameplay from your game. So number 1 says, get an image of your game. I want you to give me, you're going to draw it. So Mr. McNabb has papers for you. They may even be on your desk. You're going to draw an image of your game. Now, please remember, I don't want it to be complicated. I want it to be simple. I want it to be simple enough that I can tell what the heck is going on. So if we were talking about broom ball, I would want it to be like a picture. Well, I'll just draw it for you. All right, if I was talking about broom ball, and I was talking about when you hit the broom with the ball, I would want the ball, and when the broom is hitting the ball, okay? All right, keep it really, really, really simple. You want to kind of make your pictures easy enough to see, but if you're spending more than 5 minutes on your picture, you're doing it wrong, okay? All right, and then you go in and you label those forces. So let's jump back to this for a second. It says define the system. You're going to answer a question like what objects you're drawing. Like label your picture. If your broom doesn't look like a broom, label it a broom. All right, and then this is what I really want you to focus on today. It says add the forces, number 3. Draw arrows to show the direction of the invisible forces happening in your image. Make sure to label the type of force. This is where you're doing like the free body diagram. So if you were talking about the egg falling, you're going to draw your arrow. You're going to label your arrow. If you were talking about the gymnast, you're going to draw the arrows and label the type of it. The paper that's going to be super helpful for you to use is this resource that says types of forces. Okay, use this to help you. If you don't remember what type of force it is, go back and look at this paper. Okay, it's going to be really helpful for you. All right. Describe and show the strength of each force, okay, the magnitude. You won't have a way to calculate the exact magnitude or strength of the force. However, for the purpose of this task, you can describe the force. It says very weak, weak, strong, very strong. If you want to put numbers attached to it, or if you want to say a very strong force, that's fine. If you want to say 100 newtons, that's probably even better. Just less words. Okay? And then the size of your arrows does matter. You want to make sure if it's a big force, you show big force. Okay? This part is going to be the picture that you're drawing. Make sure you put your name on it, please, please, please. And then it's going to ask you some different questions about your project. So today in class, when you guys get started on checkpoint 2, please make sure that you're answering what you can. Okay, I'm going to go over this in more detail on Wednesday, but hopefully you guys can actually answer most of these questions without me. All right, so if you have a question on one, highlight it. Make sure you put a note in there for yourself. That way, if you do have a question, you remember to ask me. Okay, so make sure you have the rest of class to work on checkpoint 2. All right, if you can't get there, ask someone for help. If you have questions, ask your shoulder partner, but really this should be pretty simple. Okay, draw me a force body diagram or a free body diagram of what is happening at one instant of your game. Not the whole game, just one instant in your game. Okay, good luck. Hopefully you guys do awesome. You got this.